The skies above Earth darkened as the void split open. A massive alien fleet, stretching from horizon to horizon, emerged from hyperspace. The Xenok Dominion, a galactic empire known for conquering and enslaving entire civilizations, had arrived. They were not here for diplomacy. Their message, broadcast in every language known to humankind, was simple. Kneel, or be annihilated. Earth's leaders had feared this day but had hoped it would never come. The United Nations Space Defense Force, UNSDF, scrambled every available warship, every pilot, every soldier. It wasn't enough. The Xenok fleet dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Their warships, black as the abyss, shimmered with an eerie green glow as plasma batteries charged. The first attack came without warning. Beams of energy rained down on Earth's orbiting defenses, shattering space stations and turning battleships into drifting husks. The ISS Aegis, Earth's most advanced dreadnought, barely had time to return fire before a Xenok warship cleaved it in two. General Marcus Steele, the man in charge of Earth's last hope, stood in the UNSDF command center, fists clenched behind his back. His steel-gray eyes remained fixed on the holographic display showing Earth's defenses crumbling. He had seen war before, but nothing like this. "Get me Admiral Vasquez," he ordered. A second later, the battle-worn face of Admiral Helena Vasquez flickered onto the screen from the USS Revenant, Earth's last fully operational battleship. Smoke and sparks filled the bridge behind her, officers scrambling to keep the ship from being torn apart. "Sir," Vasquez said, wiping blood from her brow. "We're barely holding the line. Their fighters are faster, their ships stronger. We need a damn miracle." Steele's jaw tightened. "Then we give them hell until one arrives." Across the Pacific, in a remote underground bunker, a different kind of war was being fought. Dr. Elias Carter, one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, stared at a data stream that had just arrived from a deep space probe. His assistant, a young scientist named Mei Ling, gasped. This can't be real," she whispered. Dr. Carter ran his hands through his graying hair, rereading the findings. The probe had intercepted Xenok transmissions. And buried within them was something shocking, evidence of resistance from other enslaved worlds. "They're not invincible," Carter murmured. "They have enemies." The question was, could they find them in time? Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the solar system, Earth's last surviving fleet regrouped at Titan's shadow. A ragtag mix of battleships, carriers, and retrofitted freighters, what little remained of humanity's once proud space force. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Captain Darius Cole, an ace fighter pilot turned reluctant leader, addressed the fleet. "We may not have their numbers. We may not have their technology," he said, his voice firm. "But we have one thing they'll never have." He turned to the holographic screen behind him, displaying the battered yet determined faces of Earth's surviving forces. Humanity has never been one to kneel. A roar of defiance erupted across the fleet. The last stand of humanity had begun. The battered remnants of Earth's fleet drifted in the shadow of Titan, their hulls scarred, their crews exhausted but unbroken. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Captain Darius Cole studied the tactical display. Red enemy markers filled the void between Jupiter and Earth, Xenok warships, thousands of them, tightening their grip around the homeworld. "We're outnumbered 100 to 1, said Lieutenant Ortiz, the ship's tactical officer. "If we launch now, we won't make it past Saturn." Cole exhaled, gripping the command rail. "Then we need an edge." That edge came from a grainy transmission that flickered onto the main screen. Dr. Elias Carter, broadcasting from the deep underground research bunker in the Pacific, his eyes filled with urgency. "Captain, we intercepted Xenok communications," he said. "There's a resistance movement out there, worlds that fought back and survived." A hushed silence fell over the bridge. "Survived?" Cole leaned forward. "You're telling me there are others who stood against the Xenok and lived?" "More than that," Carter replied. "They found a way to fight them. We've uncovered logs of a battle at the edge of Xenok territory, an uprising that crippled one of their command fleets. Someone out there knows how to hurt them. The weight of hope settled on the crew like a long-lost memory. But hope wasn't enough. Where are they? Cole demanded. Carter hesitated. That's the problem. They're deep in Xenoc-controlled space. Cole ran a hand through his short, dark hair, glancing at the exhausted faces of his bridge crew. If humanity had any chance, they had to find these rebels. But that meant diving headfirst into enemy territory. Then we go get them, he said. The USS Revenant led the charge, a desperate gamble against impossible odds. Only a handful of ships could make the journey, too many would draw attention, too few and they wouldn't survive the trip. Among them were the ISS Valkyrie, a war-scarred cruiser, and the Ares Dawn, a retrofitted freighter packed with supplies and munitions. As the fleet prepared to jump, General Marcus Steele sent one last message from Earth's surface. You bring them back, Cole, he said, standing in a bunker surrounded by weary soldiers. Because if you don't, we're dead. No pressure. The fleet jumped. Their destination, Sigma Draconis, a star system that once housed a proud civilization before the Xenoc crushed it. Now, if Carter's intercepted signals were correct, it was a haven for survivors. If they were wrong, it was a graveyard. As soon as they exited hyperspace, alarms blared. Multiple bogies inbound, shouted Ortiz. Xenoc patrols, fast movers. On Cole's heads-up display, sleek alien interceptors streaked toward them, their engines glowing like green fire. All hands, battle stations. Cole barely had time to strap into his command seat before the first enemy shots screamed past their hull. The battle erupted in an instant, plasma bolts lancing through space, human fighters weaving between Xenoc ships in desperate dogfights. Aboard the Valkyrie, Captain Samantha Harlan barked orders, her ship's railguns hammering away at incoming enemy fighters. Hold the line. We need to give the Ares Dawn time to locate the resistance signal. On the Ares Dawn, a team of hackers worked frantically to tap into the frequencies Carter had uncovered. Come on, muttered Mei Ling, fingers flying across her console. Give me something. A garbled voice crackled through the speakers. Unknown vessels, you are trespassing in restricted space. Identify or be destroyed. May's eyes widened. We found them. On the Revenant's bridge, Cole grinned despite the chaos. Patch me through. The resistance had survived. Now, they just had to convince them to fight. The comms crackled again as the Ares Dawn desperately transmitted the prearranged code sequence, hoping the resistance would listen before opening fire. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves. The voice was sharp, commanding, but there was something else beneath it, caution, not outright hostility. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Captain Darius Cole leaned forward. This is Captain Cole of the United Nations Space Defense Force, he said, keeping his voice steady. We are here seeking allies against the Xenoc Dominion. We know you exist. We know you fought them, and won. Silence. Then, the sensors blared. From the swirling darkness of a nearby asteroid field, dozens of ships decloaked. Unlike the sleek, menacing vessels of the Xenoc, these were battered, mismatched crafts, human designs spliced with alien tech, old warships fused with stolen parts. A scavenger fleet, but one built for war. The lead ship, a jagged battleship bristling with unknown weapons, maneuvered into position. You're either very brave or very stupid, Captain Cole, the voice returned. This time, it was clearer, female, and laced with barely concealed bitterness. But if you're looking for heroes, you came to the wrong place. Minutes later, Cole and his officers were transported aboard the Iron Fang, the Resistance flagship. They were led into a dimly lit war room, where a tall, battle-scarred woman regarded them with cold, wary eyes. Commander Kayla Rax, she introduced herself. Her features were sharp, her dark hair streaked with silver. She wore a mixture of combat armor and a long, tattered cloak that bore no insignia. Cole got straight to the point. We need your help to stop the Xenok. Rax exhaled sharply, crossing her arms. Stop them? That's rich. We don't stop the Xenok. We survive them. We strike from the shadows, hit supply chains, ambush patrols. Your kind never fought them before, did you? We have now, Cole countered. And we survived. Barely. A flicker of something, respect, crossed Rax's face, but it was gone in an instant. Let me guess, she said. Earth is under siege, and you're looking for someone to come save the day? Cole didn't flinch. I'm asking you to fight with us, because if Earth falls, the Xenok will move on to the next world. Then the next. They won't stop. Rax studied him, her expression unreadable. Then, without warning, she drew a plasma knife and slammed it into the table. You don't get it, do you? She snapped. We already lost our worlds. Our homes are gone, our people slaughtered. We fight not because we believe we can win, but because we refuse to die on our knees. Cole locked eyes with her. Then fight with us, and show the Xenok that humanity won't kneel either. A tense silence followed. Then, Rax let out a low, bitter laugh. You've got fire, Captain. But fire won't win this war. She turned to a holographic display, activating a projection of a massive Xenok space station orbiting a dead world. The structure pulsed with energy, alien, sinister. That is Nix-12, one of the Xenok's primary war foundries, she said. It manufactures the weapons that slaughtered my people. And yours. Cole frowned. Why are you showing us this? Rax smirked. Because if you want our help, you're going to prove yourselves first. She tapped a command on her wristband, and the image zoomed in on a reinforced data vault at the heart of the station. We need data on their weapons, their ships, anything that gives us an edge. You and your people help us infiltrate Nix-12 and steal it, then maybe, just maybe, we'll talk about joining your little war. Cole exhaled. A high-risk mission, deep in enemy territory, with no guarantee of survival. It was suicide. He grinned. When do we start? The plan was reckless. No, suicidal. But that had never stopped humanity before. Captain Darius Cole stood in the war room of the Iron Fawn, eyes scanning the holographic display of Nix-12. The Xenok War Foundry loomed over the dead world beneath it, its spires pulsing with the eerie green glow of unknown energy. Warships patrolled its perimeter in tight formations, automated turrets lined every approach, and deep within, the station's data vault held the intelligence they needed to strike back. Cole turned to Commander Kayla Rax. Tell me you've got a way in. Rax smirked. Of course. We stole a Xenok freighter a few months back. Still has active transponder codes. We get in close, dock under the guise of a supply run, and slip inside before they realize they've been played. Cole folded his arms. And once we're in? Rax's second-in-command, a hulking reptilian alien named Jekmar, stepped forward. We plant charges along their power conduits. If we can't steal the data, we make damn sure no one else does. His deep voice rumbled like distant thunder. Cole exchanged a glance with his officers. They were out of options. All right, he said. We move at dawn. 12 hours later, the stolen Xenok freighter, now repainted in the Dominion's black and green colors, drifted toward Nix-12. Cole, Rax, and a hand-picked strike team hid in the cargo hold, their armor matte black, weapons suppressed. The freighter's automated systems transmitted the clearance codes. A tense silence filled the ship as they waited. Freighter Z-11, proceed to docking bay 6, came the response in guttural Xenok dialect. They were in. As the ship latched onto the station, the strike team moved. Within seconds, they slipped through the airlock and into the dimly lit corridors of Nix-12. The Xenok, arrogant in their superiority, had no reason to expect intruders. That mistake would cost them. Cole and Rax led the way, silenced weapons raised as they advanced toward the data vault. Behind them, Mar and his demolition team began planting charges along key structural points. For 10 tense minutes, they moved undetected. Then, everything went to hell. A patrol of Xenoc enforcers rounded a corner. Yellow reptilian eyes widened in shock, then one of them hissed an alert. Blades flashed. Plasma bolts sizzled. Rax drove a knife into a Xenoc's throat as Cole fired a 3-round burst into another. The rest of the strike team gunned down the remaining guards in a hail of suppressed fire. Move, now! Rax snapped. The silent approach was over. The team reached the data vault, an imposing chamber lined with pulsating conduits. Mei Ling, their hacker, rushed forward, hands flying over the alien console. I need 2 minutes, she called. They didn't have 2 minutes. The alarm screamed to life. The station's lighting flickered to an ominous red as automated defenses activated. Bulkheads slammed shut. Company's coming, Mar growled, hefting his heavy plasma cannon. Xenoc shock troops stormed the hallways, their armor gleaming like obsidian. The first wave charged in, only to be met with a hail of human and resistance gunfire. The air filled with smoke and energy discharges as the firefight erupted. Mei Ling worked feverishly. Almost there. Cole ducked behind cover as a Xenoc soldier unleashed a plasma lance, the blast scorching a hole in the wall behind him. He popped out, fired twice, and the alien collapsed. Got it! Mei shouted, yanking a data core from the console. We're done here. Rax barked. As if on cue, Mar triggered the first set of explosives. A shockwave ripped through the station, sending tremors through the floor. Emergency sirens howled. Time to go. The team fought their way back through the corridors, now swarming with Xenoc soldiers. Cole led the charge, clearing a path as their escape ship's engines roared to life in the docking bay. The moment they reached the freighter, Rax spun around and tossed a detonator. Here's our goodbye gift, you bastards. The charges detonated. Fire and shrapnel consumed Nix 12's core as the freighter blasted away, racing through the chaos. Behind them, the war foundry erupted in a chain reaction of explosions, its once mighty structure collapsing in on itself. As they jumped to hyperspace, the comms lit up. Asterisk, this is General Steele. Do you have the data? Asterisk. Cole glanced at the smoking data core in Mei's hands. He grinned. We've got it, sir. Back on Earth, a battered but unbroken humanity prepared for war. The stolen freighter burst from hyperspace, streaking toward the hidden resistance base nestled within the ruins of a shattered moon. Inside the cockpit, Captain Darius Cole exhaled as the station's docking lights flickered green. They had made it. Behind him, Mei Ling clutched the Xenoc data core like it was the key to humanity's survival. In a way, it was. We need to get this to Steele, she said. If this data is what I think it is, we just found their weak spot. Commander Kayla Rax, arms crossed, arched an eyebrow. Assuming we can actually use it before they wipe us out. Cole smirked. Then we better work fast. Hours later, in the war room of the Resistance base, the stolen data flickered across a massive holographic display. General Marcus Steele, patched in from Earth's last surviving command center, studied the information with grim intensity. The Xenoc warships use a centralized command relay, Mei explained, pointing at a complex diagram of interconnected nodes. All their ships are synced to a single system for tactical coordination. It's how they react so fast, how they overwhelm us before we can even blink. Admiral Helena Vasquez, appearing via transmission from the battered remains of Earth's fleet, scowled. And how the hell does that help us? We already know they're faster. Mei's lips curled into a smirk. Because if we take out the relay, they lose that advantage. A ripple of realization spread through the room. Rax leaned forward, intrigued. You're saying if we hit this relay, their entire battle network collapses? Mei nodded. Their ships would still function, but they'd be forced to fight individually. No more hive mind tactics. No more instant response coordination. Steele rubbed his chin. That levels the playing field. Cole exhaled. Where's the relay? May hesitated, then tapped the display. A massive construct, pulsing with eerie green energy, materialized before them. The Xenoc Prime relay is here, she said. Deep in enemy space. Near their homeworld. The room fell silent. Cole finally broke it. So we take the fight to their doorstep. The plan took shape quickly. Earth's battered fleet, now bolstered by the Resistance, would launch a full-scale assault on the Xenoc blockade while a small infiltration team slipped through the chaos to destroy the relay. It was a desperate gamble, but humanity had run out of safe bets. Steele's final message before the attack was simple. Make them bleed. 3 days later, Earth's orbit. The void above Earth was a graveyard of broken ships and drifting wreckage, but amidst the ruin, humanity's fleet assembled for one final battle. Warships that had survived previous engagements stood ready, their hulls scarred but their weapons primed. Beside them, the ragtag vessels of the Resistance hovered in formation, their mismatched designs a testament to countless battles fought in the shadows. Cole, now aboard the USS Revenant, tightened his grip on the controls of his fighter. Beside him, hundreds of human and Resistance pilots awaited the signal to launch. On the bridge, Admiral Vasquez addressed the fleet. We fight for every world the Xenoc have taken. We fight for every civilization they've crushed. And today, she paused, voice ironclad, we remind them why they fear humanity. The fleet surged forward. The battle for Earth had begun. Deep in Xenoc space, the infiltration team. While the main fleet engaged the Xenoc forces in a brutal frontal assault, Cole, Rax, May, and a small strike team raced toward the Xenoc Prime relay in a stolen enemy shuttle. The massive construct loomed ahead, a spire of pulsing alien machinery surrounded by defense turrets and warships. The moment they cleared the perimeter, alarms blared. The Xenoc had detected them. No turning back now, Cole muttered. May, get us inside. The shuttle's stolen codes worked, barely. The hangar doors screeched open, and the team stormed into the station before the defenses could react. Their objective was clear: plant explosives at the core of the relay and detonate it before reinforcements arrived. But the Xenoc weren't going to make it easy. The corridors shook as automated turrets activated, spitting plasma. Xenoc warriors poured in from every direction, their clawed hands gripping cruel energy blades. The fight was brutal. Mar led the charge, his heavy cannon turning corridors into charred wreckage. Rax moved like a specter, cutting down enemies with deadly precision. Cole and May sprinted for the control room. May hacked into the mainframe, overriding the system to lower the energy shields protecting the core. Almost there, she yelled. A Xenoc captain lunged at her, only to be blasted apart by Cole's rifle. We're out of time, he shouted. May's console flashed green. Got it. Shields down. Rax and Mar rushed in, setting explosives along the relay's pulsing conduits. The countdown began. 10 seconds. Then the ground trembled. A massive Xenoc warlord stepped into the chamber, towering over them, clad in shimmering obsidian armor. You dare defile the heart of our dominion? It growled. Cole raised his rifle. Yeah, that's kinda the plan. The warlord charged. Time slowed. Cole barely had time to roll aside before the alien's blade carved through the floor where he had stood. Rax fired twin plasma shots, both deflected by the warlord's energy shield. Mar roared, slamming a fist into the alien's jaw. It staggered back, but only for a moment. Then it drove a clawed hand through Mar's chest. The big warrior coughed blood, grabbed the alien's arm, and triggered the last explosive on his belt. The warlord vanished in fire. Cole barely had time to register the loss before Rax grabbed him by the collar. Move! The team sprinted for the exit as the countdown hit 0. The Xenoc Prime relay detonated. Above Earth, the turning point. As the relay exploded, every Xenoc warship in the battle hesitated. Their once perfect formations crumbled. Their hive-mind coordination collapsed. And humanity pounced. Vasquez's voice roared across the comms. Hit them with everything we've got. Human and resistance forces surged forward, tearing into the disoriented Xenoc armada. Warships that had once been untouchable were suddenly vulnerable. In that moment, the Xenoc knew fear. And humanity knew victory was within reach. The Xenoc Prime relay was gone. For the first time in recorded history, the Dominion's fleet staggered. Confusion rippled through their ranks as warships, once guided by an unbreakable tactical link, struggled to operate independently. Their movements became erratic. Their formations crumbled. Humanity struck with fury. Above Earth, Admiral Vasquez's voice thundered across the comms. All ships, press the attack. Drive them back. The battered but unbroken Terran fleet surged forward. Plasma lances and kinetic rounds tore through enemy hulls. Resistance bombers wove between the chaos, planting explosives along the Xenoc dreadnought's flanks. The balance of power had shifted. But the battle wasn't over yet. Deep in Xenoc space, the escape. Inside the collapsing Xenoc Prime relay station, Captain Darius Cole's lungs burned as he sprinted toward the hangar bay. Behind him, explosions tore through the facility, sending debris raining down like falling stars. Keep moving. Rax barked, dragging Mei Ling forward. The hacker was limping, her left arm scorched from the earlier firefight. Jack Mar was gone. His sacrifice had bought them the final seconds needed to destroy the relay. Now, it was up to the rest of them to get out alive. The surviving team reached the docking bay just as Xenoc reinforcements arrived. Warriors poured in from the opposite entrance, their yellow eyes burning with rage. Cole dove behind a supply crate as plasma bolts seared past his head. He returned fire, dropping 3 of them before ducking again. We're not making it to the ship, May gasped, frantically scanning the hangar. They'll cut us down before we even reach the ramp. Rax cursed under her breath. Then we make our stand here. Cole's mind raced. They had won the battle, but if they died here, it wouldn't matter. Humanity needed to know the Xenoc were vulnerable. Then he saw it. A row of maintenance skiffs, small, single-pilot crafts used for station repairs. Unarmed, but fast. New plan. Cole shouted. We take the skiffs. Rax's eyes widened. You're insane. Cole grinned. No arguments there. Move. They broke from cover, sprinting toward the skiffs as plasma fire rained down. May and Rax scrambled into one, while Cole dove into another. He slammed his hands onto the controls, overriding the startup sequence. The Xenoc charged. Too late. The skiffs shot out of the hangar at blinding speed, weaving through the debris of the collapsing station. Behind them, the remains of the relay detonated in a final, cataclysmic explosion. Cole could already see Xenoc warships breaking from the battle to chase them. We won't outrun them for long. May warned. Cole's eyes darted to the navigation panel. One chance. Follow my lead, he said, banking toward the remnants of an old asteroid belt. The others followed, their skiffs darting between shattered rocks. Xenoc fighters screamed after them, but without their hive-mind coordination, they weren't as fast. One miscalculated and slammed into a drifting asteroid. Another spun out of control, clipped by debris. Cole's heart pounded. The hangar doors of a resistance cruiser opened ahead, waiting for them. He pushed the skiff to its limits. And then, impact. The force of landing nearly threw him from the seat, but as the skiff slid to a halt inside the bay, he was alive. Rax and May made it too. The hangar doors slammed shut. Seconds later, the ship jumped to FTL, leaving the Xenoc in the dust. Cole slumped back in his seat, chest rising and falling in exhaustion. They had done it. Earth's orbit, humanity's counterattack. With the relay gone, the Xenok fleet was in full retreat. Human warships, once outmatched, hunted them down with ruthless efficiency. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Vasquez stood tall, watching as the last Xenok battleship buckled under a final torpedo barrage. A moment of stunned silence filled the comms. Then, cheers. From the smallest fighters to the largest battleships, the entire fleet erupted in victorious cries. Earth had survived. But Vasquez knew it wasn't over. She turned to her comms officer. "Get me steel," she said. "It's time we bring the fight to them." Resistance Base, the final decision. Back at the Resistance stronghold, Cole, Rax, and May stood before a war council. Generals, admirals, and leaders from surviving human and allied forces gathered around a massive holographic projection. It showed a single planet. The Xenok homeworld. General Steele leaned forward, his expression stone. "They'll be regrouping. And next time, they won't underestimate us." Cole nodded. "Then we hit them first." Silence filled the room. It was madness. The Xenok had ruled unchecked for centuries. No species had ever dared to strike their core. And yet, for the first time in history, they were vulnerable. Rax smirked. "You humans really don't know when to quit, do you?" Cole grinned back. "Nope." Steele exhaled. "Then it's settled. We take the fight to their home. And we end this war." The council erupted in agreement. Plans were drawn. Fleets prepared. Weapons armed. The battle for Earth was over. Now, humanity would take the war to the Xenok. And this time, they weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The invasion fleet was assembled. Above the Resistance stronghold, hundreds of warships loomed in formation, human vessels, Resistance cruisers, and salvaged enemy ships, all reforged for a single purpose, to bring war to the heart of the Xenok Dominion. On the bridge of the USS Revenant, Admiral Vasquez addressed the gathered forces. "For centuries, the Xenok have ruled through terror. They have burned our worlds, enslaved our people, and crushed any who dared resist. But today, we do what no species has ever done before. We strike back." A roar of approval echoed across the fleet. She turned to General Steele, patched in from the war room. "All teams are ready." Steele nodded. "Then we begin." With a final command, the fleet surged into FTL. Destination, Xenok Prime. Xenok Prime, the heart of darkness. The enemy homeworld was a vision of tyranny. Towering spires of black metal loomed over sprawling cityscapes, illuminated by eerie green energy conduits. Massive orbital defense platforms encircled the planet, each bristling with enough firepower to annihilate an armada. The Xenok had been preparing for retaliation. But they hadn't expected it so soon. The human fleet tore from hyperspace in a flash of light, weapons primed. The first shots were fired. Resistance bombers dived toward orbital defenses, unleashing payloads of high-explosive charges. Human destroyers surged into battle, unleashing kinetic barrages that shattered enemy hulls. Cole led a squadron of fighters through the chaos, weaving past enemy fire. His comms crackled. "Rax, how's our infiltration team?" "Touching down now," Rax's voice came through. "See you inside." Cole exhaled. If she failed, this battle was for nothing. Inside the Xenok Citadel, the final strike. Rax, Mei Ling, and a team of elite operatives stormed through the grand halls of the Xenok Citadel. Their objective, take down the Overlord. Xenok warriors flooded the corridors, fighting with desperation. But humanity had come too far to be stopped now. Mei hacked into the fortress systems, disabling security fields. "We're close," she gasped. Rax kicked open the final door. Inside, seated upon a throne of obsidian, was the Xenok Overlord. The alien's reptilian eyes burned with fury. "You vermin think you can end me?" Rax raised her rifle. "No, we know we can." The Overlord lunged. The battle was swift and brutal. Rax and her team fought with everything they had, dodging energy lances and countering with deadly precision. The Overlord was powerful, but arrogant. In the final moment, May overrode the palace's security systems, sending an energy surge through the throne itself. The Overlord howled as his body crackled with raw power, then fell silent. The heart of the Dominion had stopped beating. Above Xenoc Prime, the end of tyranny. With their leader dead, the Xenoc forces faltered. Their once mighty fleets began to retreat, their war machines crumbling without direction. Cole's fighter zipped past burning wreckage as the enemy fell apart. A transmission from Vasquez echoed through the comms. All forces, stand down. It's over. Silence. Then, cheers erupted across every ship. Humanity had won. 1 week later, the dawn of a new era. The war was over. The Xenoc Dominion had collapsed. Across the galaxy, their former slaves rose up, reclaiming their worlds. On Earth, what remained of humanity stood together. Cities would be rebuilt. Families reunited. The cost had been steep, but the future was theirs to shape. Cole stood with Rax, May, and Vasquez as General Steele addressed the gathered survivors. We have proven what they thought impossible. We fought back. We endured. And in the end, we prevailed. A thunderous cheer rang through the crowd. Humanity had faced extinction. And they had won.